I tell you, when you watch the news, you just want to jump out the window sometimes because they get it wrong every time. Every time. Both sides get it wrong every time.
They do. I've yet to watch a complete broadcast of anything that's been recently covered in the news that's been a complete report.
Yeah, it's true because it's all manipulated and it's very carefully selected news to fit their narrative, and that's bullshit. It's bad for the citizen, it's bad for the country, and it's bad for the law.
It's lose all the way around. In my opinion,
it is because the side that has the most control is the one that's going to get the message out that they want to more people, and we live in a country, unfortunately, where sheep just freaking follow. They don't realize that this whole FISA thing, this whole memo that was released, it implicates crime to a very high level.
Sure it does.
And it's not just like one crime; it's multiple crimes over a period of years, based against not a political candidate, but the citizens of the United States and the choice that we made.
Well, and that's where it really all starts with that. And here's the thing: is if it was one of us, we wouldn't have the legal precedents to be able to fight it. We wouldn't have the funds to fight it. Hell, some of those guys can't even fight it. Go back and look at Flynn. This broke Flynn completely.
Yeah,
the guy had to sell his house. I mean, so yeah, it's funny watching it because if you look at who is going to get prosecuted off of this FISA warrant, it won't be anybody that deserves it. It'll be people that can't fight it. That's who ends up losing at FISA is people that can't fight it.
Right.
And it's not that we don't need it. I agree that we need a FISA court. The thing needs to be in place, but it needs to be run fairly and right, and that's what it hasn't been for the last 10 years.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. You sit there and you look at I'm looking at the characters involved in this and the motivation behind it because I'm with you. I think the FISA court is a very important tool for the protection of the borders of this country.
Sure.
I think that the ability to surveil communications going back and forth between entities that are warranted, that fit the criteria, if they meet the checklist and they go before the court, and the court issues the warrant based on security of the state,
evidence that they're bringing.
Right.
Here's why we want to do this.
Right. And then here we see an example now of a fake dossier paid for by a political opponent, endorsed by the former president of the United States.
It's run in parallel with the FISA request, and all of its evidence was fed from this dossier,
right,
to allow them to continue to run. But they never fed that information back to the court to say, "Hey, this is how we arrived at our information."
And the court didn't ask. So I'm going to say...
It's a failure all the way around.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And I think in the end, I bet we find out that there's collusion with the judge. He probably knew. At some point, you would have to ask, where is this coming from?
If you look at the appointees and who appointed them, and you look at the loyalty there, I mean, it's very aggravating. I look at it from a citizen's viewpoint, and I'm like, if I run a stop sign,
right,
okay, and I get a ticket, or I get pulled over. Let's say I get pulled over, and okay, I'm originally stopped for running a stop sign. But then they go through and they realize that my inspection sticker is expired. And then I don't have insurance. Okay, this is what's happening here.
Right.
Same thing is happening here. They're basically saying, you know what? We anticipate we're going to win. So we're going to do this and we're going to be able to hide this.
That's why it was done. That's why they were all so shocked.
Yeah.
That's the looks of amazement that you see on election night where everybody's got the oh shit look on their face. Because they know what's coming down. I listened to a guy on the radio the other day, and his name's Dan Bongino. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with him. And it was interesting listening to him lay it out from a Secret Service agent how the security detail works and what the president and president-elect knows at the time that he knows these things. And it was pretty interesting looking at it. Graham, you had a smile on your face. What is it?
I mean, I like Dan Bongino, but I also don't forget that he was a Secret Service guy.
Right.
He's not a policy guy.
I agree.
So he's in close proximity to all these people, and he might overhear a few things here and there. For me, I go looking for people who are analysts like Buck Sexton. I'm curious as to what Ben Shapiro has to say, only because these guys read policy all the time.
Well, actually,
it's not a policy thing. He's laying out what the president knew and when, because of how security is laid out and what information and what they get that's classified. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, I get that.
Okay.
It's just when I'm not going to him to be a source.
Okay.
No, I get it, but I'm kind of, what's really funny. So I listened to Shapiro's take on it, and Shapiro's very neutral. He basically says, look, this is another evidentiary fact that Hillary has violated.
Which is what an analyst will say.
Yeah.
An analyst says this is the information and this is based on what I know of something. Mm-hmm. This is how it's supposed to go. I don't lean one way or the other.
So if I listen to Bongino and I listen to Shapiro, clearly there's differences in the way each of them deliver their news and their information, but they're basically saying the same thing. One speaks more in a layman's term.
Yes.
And one speaks more on an intellect, or what you would call an analyst level.
Right.
Regardless of what language they're speaking, the facts have remained the same. I look at this from a very, very straightforward, they broke the law. And they didn't just break it passively. They deliberately manipulated, massaged, and maneuvered the law to their advantage.
Now that I agree with. So with this political gamesmanship that's going on within the Congress, you've got Nunes, Shapiro, you have got all these people who are with these memos that have come out about the contents of these investigations and the misuse of the government courts and agencies to further some political parties' standing, or some representative would gain something from being able to use the assets that the country has for personal gain. Mm-hmm. That's how when I was reading some of these comments from some of these people.
But so let's look at the key player here. Let's look at the FBI, and look at the Department of Justice. I mean, this goes back to a conversation on an airplane.
Well, and if you
between a former president whose wife happens to be running and the attorney general at the time. Okay, all this stuff was spinning up during this whole period.
But based on the releases of information just in mass media, mm-hmm. one person would draw the conclusion that it appears that the Department of Justice is against the new incoming President Trump.
They have 2 or 3 FBI officials saying they were.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, this is nothing new for the FBI. Okay, the FBI has had a long veiled shadow of doubt cast upon them on their activities. We can go back to J. Edgar Hoover.
Oh, yeah.
We can go back through history and chronologically tear apart the effectiveness of the FBI. The FBI basically becomes a political payback tool. Mm-hmm. In this case, it became Russia wasn't the one hacking the elections or trying to manipulate the elections. The FBI was directly involved. And the people that the administration put in there, the former administration, they're just loading the deck with a bunch of aces there. That's all they're doing.
If you go back and look, it's a wonder that the DNC people didn't want them looking at their servers. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where the Republicans said, here's our servers opened up.
Right.
The DNC said, no, we're not going to allow the FBI to look at our servers. I find that pretty interesting.
It's very interesting. And what's really hard for me is for anybody in this country that can sit there and say that this was not a deliberate act with the intention of covering it up if they got the White House. So you go back and you look back at 2002, where the FBI submitted FISA warrants that were turned down by the court because they didn't have enough information. So there is a precedence in the case that the FBI has applied to the court. The court rejected these warrants. How come they didn't go through the same litmus test here?
And whatever the metric was then, it certainly is not what it is now.
Not between 2002 and 2000. When did it start? 11, 12?
13.
2013.
That's when they started looking into these possible collusion connections.
Right.
One of the things that I found interesting was that they had to have known at some point that somebody was going to see this information and say, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. Even if it was even if it's the next administration after this one, it seems like they would have known, hey, at some point this information is going to become public. And I can't believe that they didn't take that into account.
Well, if you remember, a month or two ago, there was a fire at somebody's house that had found servers in the garage that was on fire.
Right.
So you kind of got to wonder. I mean, I was sitting there. This is just a totally unrelated. So I'm watching I was watching a TV series that was on AMC, and it was about two railroads trying to meet and try to beat each other, right? And what happened at the end of it, the government was going to audit all their records. Well, what did they do? They burned them. they literally stuck them in a bonfire and burned the records so nobody can get to them. So this is very much something that life is imitating art in this case. But you're looking also at a candidate that was running that has not just 1, 2, or 3 of these incidences. This person's entire legacy, her and her husband's legacy, has been just filled with this kind of deceit. And these kind of actions taking on self-interest, and not just self-interest, but interest of their movement, not even their party, their movement, because there's no way they're part of a party. The party that they affiliate themselves with,
it's irrelevant. They could be Republicans, I think. It's interchangeable to them. In their mind, it's almost like bankers. They don't care.
I absolutely agree with that.
And it's very true. And so when you look at, if you look at the action of the person and what they think their end game is going to be, I mean, they literally thought they were going to win this. They thought
that's
Pat
where the
was
shock
in the
comes
back.
from. Right.
And I'm shocked that they got caught cheating to the level of 3.5 million votes just in California.
Right.
Who knows how many votes in New York, Texas, even in Texas. What amazes me is how this great state of Texas, built on independence and built upon being the rugged individual, is full of these people. Mm-hmm. Our major cities are full of these people. We have 3 of big sanctuary cities in the country, in our own state. Right. Now, I find that unconscionable, one, because you're saying that it's okay to break the rule of law. So you have to go with pattern here. If it's okay to break federal law, if it's okay to break state law, why are we surprised that they're breaking federal law? Mm-hmm. Why are we surprised these people, they don't give a shit about what's right or wrong?
Well, nobody ever calls them on it. There's no accountability. When there's no accountability, then you have there's no consequences for action, then why wouldn't you?
Right. And
that's where they're at.
And so now we've got a president sitting at the desk that is pretty much going to be, he's going to open that book. He is going to open that book.
We hope.
He is.
I think he is. I agree with you, but there's a hope that he is. I'm just hoping that something doesn't happen to him, and I do something in air quotes there.
Right, because you never know with these people.
I mean, that's what I mean. It gets deep in the weeds with these folks.
Well, during the whole DNC thing, look how many people died during that one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk Whitewater. Let's talk about that part. How many
Ben
people
Foster.
died there?
Yeah.
Plane crashes into a mountain. I'm like, really?
Which really surprised me that this guy, the guy that's running the law firm now, I can't think of his name, that did it for, it was their lawyer that they ran this money through to get this dossier.
Yeah.
That went through their lawyer's office. Yeah. I'm stunned that he actually is still alive. I gotta admit that because the last one ate a bullet.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, I sit there, and so when I look at the theater that's going on in front of us right now with this whole FISA memo, I would just say everybody just needs to calm the hell down, okay? Because there's more to come. I really do. I think that as we see more and more evidence, it's going to be up to the people that are part of this country to sit back and say, you know what? This has got to stop. This has got to stop. We have laws. For me, if I get fined for anything, I'm upset, but more than likely, I probably did something
to deserve it.
To deserve that. So I'm going to go ahead and make my restitution. These people don't give a shit about restitution.
No.
They're moving on. In their mind, they said, well, we can't bring this house of cards down because it jeopardizes the democracy of the country. Well, they keep forgetting that we are a republic.
Well, and that goes back to answer my question of how when they did this, it really goes back and it serves my question of, did they not think somebody was going to see this? Yes, they did. They just didn't care.
Right.
And that's where you end up with this is there is no consequences for their action, or there hasn't been up until this point.
There would be such a state of instability within the country if it became widely known that the government isn't as trustworthy as it is. And what I'm talking about is people took it to the level that now it became actionable. Mm-hmm. That they physically ignore any mandates or laws at all.
I think that's where we're at pretty much.
But this has happened. This isn't. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
we are.
yeah,
but we have been here before.
A revolt.
Okay. Well, I knew where you were headed.
We've been here before as a nation, multiple times.
Right.
Civil War. Look at what went on during that.
That's why I think it's more managed now. Number one is I don't think that the U.S. public doesn't have the stomach to go to that level. I mean, okay.
They don't want to give up the comfort.
Just leave it at that. Don't run with that thought at all.
Yeah.
Because I personally believe that people want to do serious shit until it's time to do serious shit.
Well,
right.
Okay, so there's a big difference between serious shit and doing what's civilly responsible.
Right.
Because you as a citizen are responsible to know what your government's doing with your money.
Yes.
I'm not saying take up arms, torches, and pitchforks.
Neither am I. That's
okay.
why.
But what I am saying, though, is that when you sit there and you go into a boardroom or you go into a community meeting and they say, well, we're only talking about what's on our agenda. If you go against our agenda, we're kicking you out.
Or we'll have you arrested. We'll
have you arrested, which is happening to teachers talking about pay. Right. So for me, I'm not one of those guys that's going to go do all that stuff either. But I will tell you, they will. Yes. They do. And they send the IRS to anybody that objects to what they're doing.
Learner. It's
absolutely.
And I'm just talking about people who, when you call an elected official you supposedly call them to the carpet about their actions,
right?
And all they cared about was the fact that you cast a vote for them, and that was your only job as a citizen.
That's all your job is.
They're going to pat you on the head and tell you to go on because you don't understand,
or pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes as we raise your taxes,
and
you pay those too.
It will always be civil because
that's what they want.
They're using their minds to defeat you rather than brawn.
Well, let's get down to the bottom line on this. Nobody wants to lose their house.
Nobody wants air conditioning.
Their nice cars. They don't want to lose. They don't want to miss all the things that are comfortable.
Right.
So what they do is they give you just enough of those. They give just enough of the population that.
Yes.
So if you have 1% that are extremely rich,
I will appease you enough to shut you up.
You have a middle class section that is sitting there. We'll say relatively maybe in the 60% range.
Right.
That's maybe comfortable. Then you have the other 39% struggling. So what do? You feed them off the teat. You take them, and actually we're approaching almost 50-50
Yeah,
split
it's
here.
almost 50-50.
50-50 split. So you're taking the middle, and you're burdening the middle. Okay, you keeping the middle working. I got to keep chasing that carrot. I got to keep working. Can't lose my house. And so what you do is you're putting guys in compromised moral decisions when it comes to doing what's right and what's wrong because they're going to make the money. Then two, you got the other guy says I'm just going to lower my standard. And I'm not going to have all those nice things. Then you have family discord because they go, well, I want this and I want that, so how come you're not working harder?
Right.
So all you're doing is they're getting you chase the middle, while the lower 49% now are sitting there leeching off of what we do.
Right.
We're giving them all kinds of free shit. You don't even have to be legal to come in here to get free stuff now. Now you can just walk in the door. We're going to give you a house. We're going to give you a car. We're going to give you medical care. And we're going to send you to college unharassed.
Well, it's funny.
I just struggle with that.
It's anarchy in bedrock. Fred, Barney, Wilma, and Betty.
I'm telling you, almost.
I just had this thought that the two groups that benefit the most from the tax-paying public are the people who
extremely rich and extremely poor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the extremely rich and extremely poor. And this is nothing new. This is mankind. This is our legacy. We haven't learned. The Constitution, I believe our founding fathers and the way the Constitution was drafted and enacted took care of that. But what you have a bunch of lawyers that are and businessmen that are gerrymandering. I mean, when you look at Manifest Destiny, when expansion of the West, good God Almighty, the corruption was absolutely out of control. But you couldn't have made that move without that corruption. That's what you have to make peace with.
How I look at it is you create this law that says this statement that you can or cannot do something. Okay, something is forbidden from being done, and then suddenly that law now has subsets. Okay,
right.
Bullet point 1, bullet point 2. So now all of a sudden that law has you figured out a way to
like exceptions to the rule type thing?
Yeah, you figured out a way to navigate it and manipulate it in a way that you benefit from.
So
just like the tax code.
Right. Oh yeah. Look at any great expansion of technology or business venture, oil, gas, electronics, whatever. What ends up following the big boom? A Senate investigation on corruption.
Right.
Who did you grease to get to A to B?
Right.
They'll let you run through your entire development process. They'll let you even get your product to market. Now that it's a viable consumable item, now they want to go after
regulation.
They want to go after whoever developed it, take their profit away from it, and control it themselves.
Right.
This is the legacy of our government, man. This is what our politicians do, and I'm a firm believer in government. But I'm a Jeffersonian constitutionalist, so I believe in capitalism. But what I also believe in is I believe in independent businessmen should be able to have businesses. I'm not a big corporate guy. Mm-hmm. I've learned a long time ago. I tried to sit at the chair of these corporate guys. It doesn't work. If you're an honest guy, I don't care what anybody says. You can comment on this all you want. I'll look at it and just delete it because you don't know what you're talking about. These corporate guys are all about greed, and they don't give a shit who they step on.
Right.
So why would you think your government's any different? Your government used to be full of righteous men. It's not now. The government is full of a bunch of self-centered, greedy guys that will stop at no point to get what they want. They don't give a shit who they stomp on because they do it in the name of whatever the fuck it is they think they're doing it for.
Well, they'll label it as the greater good.
Yeah.
And that's how they'll sell it to you.
Yeah.
And you really can't challenge that because now all of a sudden you're seen as some selfish or amoral, whatever.
Or a nut job.
Yeah.
Wacko, whatever.
I mean, it's pretty sad because we're supposed to live in a nation where we help the people that need help. Mm-hmm. And I think for the most part we do. I think we do a good job of helping people in their hour of need. But we have to be there for the rich in their hour of greed. Okay?
More so than
the other way. Yeah.
If you tell the story right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm a little passionate about this today because I sit here and I'm watching all this spinning going on. And what I hate about this whole spin, it's like you throw a smoke grenade in the room. It started out as a little stream. Now all of a sudden the room is so full of smoke, nobody wants to see anything. Right. They just want to get the hell out of the room.
Right.
When I think people should be in jail. I mean, you look at Comey. You look at all these people that are look at all these people.
Which could be by design if you think about it. They want to muddy the water because that way everybody gets away.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they do.
Oh, we made this big stink, and look at all that happened, and nothing happened. Well, it's because of what we just can't tell. It's so
we can stand in line 14 hours for the latest iPhone.
Right.
We can stand in line for concert tickets on a farewell tour. We'll stand there, we'll endure, we'll camp out for 14 hours. But when they steal your money and you have criminals killing people and doing the things they do,
one feels good and the other's hard.
We just want to shut that shit off. Is what we, and it's
the same phrase,
annoying.
like in the financial world, or where they'll say that an entity's too large to fail, therefore the government has to scoop in and save them because in some model it would impact the U.S. in a very negative, an uber negative way.
Right.
Well, they apply that same apply that same phrase to politicians. They're too successful to like Clinton.
You hear all the time how she'll never really go to jail. Even the Republicans say that. She'll never really end up in jail.
Let's just say hypothetically that she is connected to people that don't want any kind of attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that they're not touched in any way.
The shadow is always in the shadow. Yeah. They're the ones that fade away. They're like fog. They're like the fog. They come in and then they drift right back out. And everybody that's left up front of them are the ones that get dismantled. I mean, do I think Clinton's the ultimate evil? No, but she's a handmaiden of the ultimate evil.
Right. Yeah.
She's a part of a tool or a machine that has been
the face of. Right now, she's currently the face. Of what I.
Right, and honestly, is it fair to characterize her just singularly? Hell no. I give you a long list if you got an hour.
Right. That's just the face that's in front of us at the moment.
That's just the one that first of all, they tried to make you feel sorry for her because she's sick. She's trying to win this election for the children and for the country.
Right.
No, she's not. She's it's an act, man.
Yeah.
It's an act. She's just trying to get out there. She wants in that office because she knows how much power she can wield. Mm-hmm. Not just
and she
think about how much uranium she can tell if she's the president.
Well, right?
Based on how she used her office for the State Department,
right?
Basically, pay to play.
Right.
She's going to take that same
Sure.
That same game plan
to
Right.
factor 10.
and I still think that it was the same way when Bill Clinton left office.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly they were bankrupt.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, whatever their personal wealth was when they were in office,
Right.
suddenly it exponentially explodes. And book sales alone
Right.
aren't what got them there.
I need a speaking engagement
Yes.
where I make $500,000 a shot.
Or private audience, particularly private audience
Yeah.
speaking engagements with
Banks.
the financial community. Why are you speaking behind closed doors to the financial community?
Right.
So, yeah, that's exactly right. So it's not just the speech you give, it's who comes to see you at the speech.
Oh, yeah.
Who you introduce to. I mean, when you start talking about networking and working in circles, trust me.
I would be surprised if the speech ever even actually happened. They said it's in here, they closed the doors, they went in there, and they all
Right.
drank. That's what I think happened. Nobody gave a speech. I mean, they might have taken like a 5-minute clip so they could say he said something.
As the world community has become smaller, well, you can only bleed so much money from your own home country.
Right.
So now
you got to go after the other ones.
You're gonna go. Hey, what do the Chinese have?
I've used all these people. Let me go use these folks.
What can I get from Europe? You know, and so on.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, you know what's funny though is the players may have changed, but the game hasn't. We still have India, China.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We still have Africa. We still have all these countries that have been getting basically pillaged for years. You would think that they would have been able to evolve their governments like we did, where you have a constitution, you have a republic that defends itself. I mean, this is why we're so hated. It's because it was very successful. This country pulled itself up from the British Empire. We basically chased off the British Army with pitchforks and knives and guns and whatever we can get our hands on. Help from the French. We had help from the French on this. You know, so we were able to do all this, establish our own government. I mean, our forefathers fought, tussled, toiled, and travailed over writing the Constitution of this country. People need to really learn the history of that because they have sat down and you start reading Benjamin Rush and all these different guys that were involved in the moral fiber of this country. Now you know why the other people hate it so much. They don't have time for that. They're just going to come over and take over and run it the way they want to run it. And they don't give a shit what you think about it. I mean, we have sat there, we have a legacy behind us that should be the blueprint for every country in the world that wants to sit there and develop their own countries. Africa could have done it. Asia could have. All you got to do is just
Since about 1926,
kill the dictator, man.
And I can't even imagine. I can't fathom an organized Africa.
Right.
Because it is so tribal there.
Yes, it is.
And everybody's a warlord there.
Again, you got to ask yourself, though, is that by design? Because it allows them to keep a boot on the neck of their people.
Because
Anytime
South Africa is the one lone country there that has something that the rest of the country does.
Because that's where all the Germans went.
Well, think about it, though. It's controlled the same way it was controlled in the Middle Ages. You
Yeah.
control literacy. You control education. If you keep people dumb and they can't read,
Right.
they're easy to control. That's why that model works there. You have to change the model when you come here where people are somewhat educated. Granted, they're fat and lazy, but they can be ingenuitive. So you have to run the game different, and they're running the game different here than they are there.
Right.
They just take the model that works for the area and apply it. That's really all they do.
Well, if you think about it, what did the British Empire try to do for Africa? They went and they tried to civilize it.
Yeah, they were trying to civilize it.
They were trying to civilize it. And what happens? Other countries go in there and kill that person and establish warlord rule again.
Right.
I mean, this whole thing is just it's mind-boggling sometimes about how simple it is and how perceived smart people actually miss this.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you're forgetting back in the day when they took Henry Ford and Carnegie and Rothschild and all these guys and put them before Congress, and they were about to disband these powerful companies in this country. They were literally going to dismantle that because of the corruption and the graft and all the things that went in behind it into the building of all the infrastructure that we enjoy today. You know, and what's really sad is we haven't made very many advances. We've made technology advances, but they make it so expensive to implement it that I think that technology goes to waste. We are the brightest, we are the best, but we are also the most undisciplined there is on the planet.
Lazy.
We let other people direct what we're going to do. And all these people have done through using our court systems and all these laws is to try to entrench and establish themselves into running us like they did those other countries. It's unbelievable how people are actually falling into it. I would have never thought that I'd lived in a day and time where I would see people of my age group and within 10 years of my age group, younger, be so stupid.
Go suck a Tide Pod.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, dude, I am shocked. I'm shocked that we actually cannot take common sense and actually say, this is what's going on. We need to stop this. Get in there and educate yourself before you vote. I think you should have to take a test before you cast a ballot.
I think you should have to pay taxes before you cast a ballot.
Yeah, I do too. You should have a driver's license.
A driver's license and pay taxes.
Yeah.
If you pay taxes, then you can vote. If you haven't paid a tax...
Well, wasn't it before you had to be a landowner?
Used to be, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And that probably changed after the Civil War, I would think, because a lot of people were displaced. I mean, we can go into a whole history lesson, but Reconstruction was the worst thing. That was horrible. But that's kind of
carpetbagger. Go back to the carpetbaggers.
That's what's going on now,
right?
When you look at banks and corporate takeovers, it's no different.
The mentality is the exact same. It is no different.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's the same battle tactics. Everything about it is the same. It's just a different environment.
Right.
Apply the same strategy, and you end up with the same result.
I think you have a more passive populace as well.
Probably.
You have a very.
That's kind of sort of what I was thinking. Yeah. Is nobody. Okay, the biggest problem now is how I look at it is somebody gave me a soy latte when I asked for a
right,
whatever the latest and greatest
caramel macchiato,
whatever.
Yeah,
that ruins their whole freaking day.
Right.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I know. This is the country we live in, though. It's amazing.
And the thing is when you say something like that to somebody who kind of may
fit that criteria,
how they'll fucking defend it.
Oh yeah. I'm
like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right.
Who would want to be that soft?
They do.
Oh my God.
They do. They're programmed to be that way. And when you look at it, it's programmed from birth. I really go back to that. That is programmed into. That is built into people. Right. I believe that thoroughly.
Oh, I do too. The whole thing. It takes a village bullshit. Every time I hear that, I want to just poke my ears out.
I want to burn the village down.
I do too. It's like, no, seriously. It's like, makes no sense to me because parents. So I don't know, dude. I'm just not gonna get spun off on it anymore. I'm just kind of I'm done with that one.
We're tweaked.
Yeah, because I just think it's basically it's a simple issue out there. It's that somebody broke the law. Somebody lied to a court with a fake document paid for by a foundation of your opponent.
Knowingly, but all this in the wide open. It's not like there's any subterfuges.
But again, those two things were run in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
The evidence I have for my request was fed from a dossier that I didn't tell you about.
Right.
This is what I'm telling. He's guilty of this. Nobody asked, where did you get that information
And it's
from?
just a dude with an opinion. It wasn't even a real dossier. It was just a memo, basically.
Well, and those judges change every 30 days, too. Yeah. So, I mean, they had to bring this before.
There's 11 judges that are authorized through the FISA
But every 30
Court.
every 30 days they change. But it's a different judge that rules on this.
Okay.
This Steele dossier, it's
right.
It's Chris Steele.
Wasn't he a British guy?
He is a British spy.
Because there was something in the news within the last few days where he actually, I guess he was supposed to be interviewed or something. Actually, he walked out.
He cooperated. Yeah. Well, he started to cooperate it, and then he walked out.
Yeah.
So, and I was, for somebody who's trying, I guess if your end state is to get here, and you're using the dossier this person put together, I would think that guy would be as cooperative as you want him to be.
You would think. I'd have made a deal for witness protection for sure.
Oh, yeah. Just make sure Hillary doesn't shoot me in the back of the head.
I'm telling you.
So it's just, it's a very convoluted.
Her death count would make any gamer proud.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I mean, she literally is into multiple extra lives.
Yeah.
All these extra bonus points that you get. I mean, this gal, she's something else.
It's some wicked shit.
How she sleeps at night, well, I know how
on a big sack of money.
No, I think she sleeps upside down by her feet in the closet. I think that when you sell your soul to Satan, that's what you do.